Welcome to another edition of Big Time Basketball. Thank you for logging on for a trip around the Big Ten Conference. I'm Chris Hagan.
And I'm Chris Whitlick, and we start this week with the top matchup on the schedule. Up-and-coming Penn State making the trip to East Lansing to tangle with Sparty. Nick Mantis has that Spartan story.
Well, it was heartbreak at the Breslin Center as Michigan State fell to Penn State 75-70. Cassius Winston had an opportunity to tie the game with 11 seconds left, but his free-throw shot bounced off the rim and out. The Nittany Lions were able to secure the rebound and secure their 5th straight win. The Spartans suffered their first Big Ten home loss and have now lost their last 3 of their last 5 games. And head coach Tom Izzo had this to say after the game.
I thought our guys gave a good effort. Cassius played his butt off second half, and he's a 90% free throw shooter, and that sure as hell wasn't his fault. And we're not trying to miss layups, but it's been 3 games where it's been very costly. And second chance points, we're the best, I think, rebounding team in the conference, and I think they're one of the worst. Give them credit, man. They got 11 offensive rebounds for 15 second chance points. We had 5, 21 points off of turnovers, and we had 9.
The Spartans will have to regroup before they head to Ann Arbor for a rivalry game against the Michigan Wolverines, who also suffered a loss this past week against Ohio State. So 2 hungry teams that are really looking for a Big Ten win. Reporting on the Michigan State Spartans for the Big Time Basketball, I'm Nick Mantis.
Nick, thank you. Tom Izzo, not a happy man right now. Lamar Stevens had 24. Marion Jones had a career-high 6 threes while scoring 20 points, leading the 22nd-ranked Nittany Lions to that win over number 16 Michigan State on Tuesday. Probably their biggest road win in years. Here's Peter Terpstra on the Nittany Lions.
This is a new spot for Penn State basketball. The NCAA tournament resume looks stronger than ever, and people, especially in the Big Ten, should really start taking notice. The Nittany Lions picked up a signature win, maybe the best win in the last few seasons. Penn State beat a ranked Michigan State team on the road 75-70. Both Tom Izzo and Pat Chambers got teed up. Michigan State had a chance to tie it with 11 seconds left, but Cassius Winston missed a rare free throw. 5 wins in a row, 3 road wins in a row.
During that speed bump week, I was trying to change momentum in game with certain plays I was running, execution-wise, to try to swing the momentum back to our way. Defensively, maybe doing something a little bit different, a little bit more aggressive to swing momentum. I'm a firm believer in momentum. I do believe we have momentum right now, and we got to capture it and we got to keep it. And you do that by putting your walls up and staying focused.
We'll see if Penn State can stretch the streak to 6 games. They're going to host Minnesota here at home Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Covering Penn State, I'm Peter Terpstra.
Thanks, Peter. Wonder if those Lions can enjoy that success. It'll be interesting. 2 other teams that will have a say in who takes the conference title are Rutgers and Maryland.
Yeah, Chris, the Terps setting up shop in the top 10 this season and are looking to stay there. On the Maryland beat, here's Alif Kareem.
In their last game at home, the Maryland Terrapins won a thriller against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights 56-51. Jalen Smith stole the show once again, finishing with a 14-point and a 15-rebound double-double. A strong second half managed to cover some of Maryland's mistakes, especially with the turnovers that they struggled with. It's something that they're going to have to watch next game as they take on Illinois this Friday.
One of those things early in the season was turnovers, and I think we've done a really good job with that. But now it's just spacing. We got to make sure we got correct spacing, making the right passes, making the right plays, not over dribbling, but just making plays for each other and continue to play for each other.
Last game between the 2 teams, the Terps barely ran away with the win at home 59-58. This time they're going to have to head on the road, dealing with all of that energy and the animosity in that crowd. Covering Maryland, I'm Alif Kareem.
Hey, thanks, Alif. These 2 will meet again next month, but round 1 goes to Maryland, 56-51.
I just think every year we've gotten better and better, and we just keep climbing. Trying to climb in the best league in the country. So that's what we're trying to do. We got to play hard all the time. We got to obviously, every game poses a different challenge. We'll get off the mat. One thing this program's done since I've been the head coach, you get off the mat and we get ready for the next challenge ahead, and challenges are numerous.
Yeah, Rutgers enjoying a renaissance season, Chris, and they will be heard from down the road for sure. Another team turning heads this season, Illinois.
Yeah, both of these squads solid. It's been all too long for those diehards in Champaign-Urbana. The Orange and Blue ranked 21st in the nation now and in the thick of the conference hunt. Here's WCIA's Brett Behrens on the Illini.
Sometimes turning around a program happens quick. Ohio State's Chris Holtmann had the Buckeyes back in the NCAA tournament his first 2 years on the job. Brad Underwood's first 2 seasons at Illinois wrote a different script as he missed the big dance for the first time in his head coaching career after making it 4 straight years at Stephen F. Austin and Oklahoma State. Now Underwood has Illinois in prime position to make the field. He's got the Illini in the Big Ten title race. A loss at Iowa Sunday didn't change his outlook. His team is bought into playing tough, defense-minded first ball.
I mean, you talk about love your team. Nobody in America loves their team more than I do. I mean, are you kidding me? It's from top to bottom. Our locker room is filled with as good of human beings and as good of kids and as hard of workers and guys that are trying so hard to do what we do. And these kids have bought in, and then they believe in our coaching staff, and they believe in each other. And that was a upset locker room after the game, but we left it knowing that there's a lot of basketball yet to be played, and that's what makes me appreciate how good this team is.
A big-time test awaits tonight as number 20 Illinois hosts 9th-ranked Maryland in a rare Friday night first-place showdown in Champaign. Covering Illinois for Big Time Basketball, I'm Brett Behrens.
Thank you, Brett. That arena's going to be rocking on Friday. The Michigan and Ohio State rivalry on the gridiron is one of college football's best. We all know that.
Yeah, Chris, and on the hardwood, it's no slouch either. Both programs boasting numerous Final Four appearances. And the two got together this week in Ann Arbor. Whitney Harding has a look through the Buckeyes lens.
The Buckeyes arrived at a show-me opportunity Tuesday night on the road against their biggest rival, and they showed the Big Ten they're tough enough to be a tournament factor. Caleb Wesson piecing together one of his better games as a Buckeye, 23 points, and making some critical plays at both ends to pace the Bucks and navigate that road crowd. The Buckeyes winning at 61-58 for their second road win of the Big Ten season and their second straight win without talented freshman DJ Carton in the lineup.
Proud of our guys. Thought we had great play from a lot of guys. Players win game, and I thought Caleb was fantastic tonight and leading the way. I just thought he imposed himself in a lot of ways.
The Bucks could sure use another road effort like that Sunday when they play Wisconsin, who beat the Buckeyes in Columbus earlier this season. It's unclear whether Carton will be available. He's continuing his leave of absence for a mental health concern. For Big Time Basketball in Columbus, I'm Whitney Harding.
Hey, thanks, Whitney. Yeah, the Buckeyes do eke out that 3-point win. Caleb Weston with those 23 points and 12 rebounds. As for the Wolverines, let's get their side of the story with Larry Figursky.
Just when it looked like the Michigan Wolverines were turning the corner, another difficult loss at home. Their third straight at Chrysler Center and fourth of the year, most at home since 2016. This one with a bit of controversy thanks to a late flagrant foul on Xavier Simpson in a 61-58 loss to Ohio State, dropping U of M to 4-7 in the Big Ten.
It's a tough one to swallow, I swear. This one, like all the losses, but this one hurts a lot. It was a very hard-fought game. People driving to the basket, getting fouled, no calls. I mean, that's a part of the Big Ten.
Now, the Wolverines' other game this past week, a win technically at home, albeit at Madison Square Garden in New York, 69-63 over Rutgers. With Isaiah Livers still out with injury, Brandon Johns Jr. stepping up with arguably the best performance of his career. 20 points, 7 rebounds, and a career-high 38 minutes played. The Wolverines also getting a second strong performance this past week from Big Ten Freshman of the Week, Franz Wagner. But what Juwan Howard really needs to get off the NCAA bubble?
We need good help from each and every one of our guys in order to make a big run for this season. And, we're gaining some traction, but you got to have a healthy group when you play in the Big Ten.
And up next, the game for the Wolverines hosting Michigan State. Juwan Howard looking for his first win as a head coach in the rivalry after dropping the first meeting between the two teams this season, 87-69 in East Lansing in early January. With the Wolverines, I'm Larry Figursky for Big Time Basketball.
Hey, thanks, Larry. Chris, there was an intriguing matchup at Purdue Wednesday night. 18th-ranked Iowa invading Mackey Arena to take on those Boilermakers.
And Painter's crew has produced some wild, high-scoring Mackey magic this season, including a beatdown of Fran McCaffrey's team. For more on the night from the Hawkeyes' perspective, here's Adam Rosso.
The Hawkeyes week began with a heated win over Illinois on Super Bowl Sunday, and that was a game that was plump with physicality, intensity, and even some jawing between the coaching staffs at the end. That certainly conjured up some memories from the late 80s and early 90s when that rivalry was at its best. So how did the Hawks follow up the emotional win? with an absolute dud at Mackey Arena. Iowa allowing a whopping 104 points to the Boilers in the loss. Fran McCaffrey says being on the wrong end of a blowout calls for some introspection.
We didn't play well, but I think, our opponent had something to do with that, and I think you have to be willing to admit that and say, okay, we got outplayed, we got outfought, we got out-executed. Okay, what could we have done differently as coaches? I don't think when we really needed to, we competed the way we should have. We kind of lost our composure, and they benefited from that, and they took advantage of that.
The Hawks return home with revenge on their mind. Iowa will look to avenge a January loss to Nebraska on Saturday night. Then it's another trip to the Hoosier State later in the week. The Black and Gold will travel to Assembly Hall in Bloomington to take on Indiana in the only meeting of the season. Reporting for Big Time Basketball, I'm Adam Rosso.
And there's the damage. Boilers win big 104-68. Remarkable number. For more on the stunning Purdue victory, here's WTTV's Wes Woodward.
The Purdue Boilermakers, masters of their own domain here at Mackey Arena. Another blowout win, this time against the Iowa Hawkeyes on Wednesday night. And the magic starting on the glass at Mackey for Purdue. Offensive rebounding, allowing Purdue shooters second and third chances. At the half, Purdue would lead at 61-36. All told, Purdue 19 three-pointers on the night and 5 double-figure scores for Purdue. Evan Boudreau leading the way with 18. Fan favorite, 12th man Tommy Luce even had 6 on 2 three-pointers as Purdue dismantled Iowa 104-68.
Our ability to make threes obviously was the real separation, in that first half. But just trying to execute to get, to that point. Obviously, we shoot the ball well, but when you only have 9 turnovers and you have 29 assists, that's really helped us. Anytime we take care of the basketball and have a good assist-turnover ratio, it's normally a good night for us. But when we don't, it really goes the other way.
Next up for Purdue, a trip downstate to Bloomington to face their arch rivals, Indiana. In West Lafayette with the Boilers, Wes Woodward, Big Time Basketball.
Thank you, Wes. Purdue's still trying to get part of that conversation. That field is 64. We'll see what they can do. Well, 2 squads yet to find their rhythm over the Big Ten campaigns are Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yeah, Chris, both schools just fighting to keep their heads above water in conference. They faced off Wednesday night in Minneapolis, and get this, the Gophers with a big win, 70-52.
Not only is it Wisconsin, and that means a lot to, our university and our state, but also, we want to get back to the NCAA tournament. We've got a lot of new guys, and I said from day one, I don't want to use that as an excuse. We've got, I think the third most new faces in the league, but we're in the hunt. And so it's a testament to those new guys being able to come in right away.
Yeah, a lopsided affair, and on the wrong side of it was Wisconsin. Here to pick up the pieces is our Burke Griffin.
Well, there really isn't any way to sugarcoat it. The past 2 weeks have been a roller coaster for the Wisconsin basketball program. Former State Player of the Year Kobe King stayed in Madison just prior to their game against Iowa, and UW not only squandered a 12-point lead and were outscored 23-5 in the final 7 minutes of that game, Brad Davison got a flagrant 1 foul that resulted in a 1-game suspension. 2 days later, King officially left the team, and with those 2 starters out, Wisconsin somehow beat 14th-ranked Michigan State at home, which was their 4th victory over a top 25 team this season. But that's where the emotional ride may have caught up with the entire squad just prior to their matchup with Minnesota on the road. According to Jeff Petrikis of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, University of Wisconsin officials are investigating an allegation that a racial slur was used in front of King, which led to his departure. Now, as far as that game against Minnesota was concerned, the Golden Gophers jumped all over Wisconsin in the first half, and all you really have to do is look at the stats to see how that happened. UW, not too bad from three-point range, but they were just 35% from the floor overall and never had the lead. By way of comparison, Minnesota hit 55% from the floor and made half of their three-pointers en route to that 13-point lead at the break. And 1 point midway through the second half, the Gophers had built a 22-point advantage. Peyton Willis leading the way with a career-high 21 points, and the Badgers were never really in the contest, suffering a 70-52 loss that puts them back at 500 in the Big Ten. So, after winning 6 out of 7 games, Greg Gard's team has lost 4 out of their last 6, and at this point, I have no idea which Badgers team will show up. They were missing their 2 of their best starters, and beat Michigan State. Then the Gophers, who they beat 4 straight times in Minneapolis, Well, they got crushed by 18. Next up for Wisconsin, Ohio State at home on Sunday. Reporting for Big Time Basketball, I'm Burke Griffin.
Thank you, Burke. It's been a roller coaster there in Madison. Well, tonight's matchup, we told you about it earlier tonight. A fight for the outright Big Ten lead. 8-3 Maryland, 8-3 Illinois at the former Assembly Hall in Champaign. Earlier this year, the Illini lost a big second-half lead and let the Terrapins escape. Revenge in first place will be on their minds tonight, Chris.
Yeah, and on Saturday, some great rivalry matchups on the docket. Michigan State trying to bounce back. They're on the road at Michigan, 12 noon Eastern time. And then down in Bloomington, Indiana, the Boilermakers and Hoosiers getting busy. Some implication in the conference race and for NCAA resumes as well. For a look ahead on that, here's WXIN's Dave Griffiths.
Any momentum Indiana had built with 4 wins in 5 games is long gone now. The Hoosiers have dropped 3 straight, falling to 5-6 in Big Ten play, right in the bottom third of the league standings. Most recently this week came a loss on the road at Ohio State. IU coach Archie Miller said post-game the Buckeyes imposed their will against the Cream and Crimson, especially early on as OSU raced out to a 14-point first-half lead. Indiana's rebounding was less than good, giving up 11 offensive boards to the Buckeyes and grabbing only 4 themselves, with 0 second chance points to show for it.
This team sort of has hit a pothole, so to speak, but in every season, the story's never written till the end, but, we're going to have to change paths here and change course of how we're playing. And, the only group that can really get themselves out of it is us. Like every team that kind of goes through it, you find your tough guys, you find your togetherness, and you have to find a sort of a way to break through in the moment of truth.
IU is just 1-5 on the road this season, but the good news is the return to Bloomington is on tap this weekend. It's a rivalry game too. Indiana and Purdue meet for the 210th time, and the Hoosiers are hoping to shake off a 5-game losing streak to the Boilers. Covering Indiana, I'm Dave Griffiths.
Thank you so much, Dave. Elsewhere Saturday, Minnesota visits Penn State, the 22nd-ranked Nittany Lions. That's a 4 o'clock tip at the Bryce Jordan Center on Saturday. The Lions a realistic chance at the conference crown. And Nebraska travels to Carver Hawkeye Arena to take on Iowa. That's a 6 o'clock tip. Here's KCAU's Jacob Jones with the Huskers.
Time to talk some Big Red hoops, although right now not too much is feeling big about the men's basketball program. Their losing skid up to 7 games after dropping Saturday's contest versus Penn State. But with a week off, the team does have plenty of time to prep for Iowa, who Nebraska actually upset in Lincoln back on January 7th. And while the hope is to obviously get on track, head coach Fred Hoiberg was asked about his frustration level in year 1 at the helm.
This is all part of the process. This is all part of, the good times and the bad times we have to learn from. And we have to be better moving forward this year and certainly into next year. And, those 3 guys sitting out see it, they understand it, we talk about it. The recruiting class that we're going to bring in here, I'm excited about that. But, again, for me, like I've talked to the team about every day, is going out there and competing at a high level. And for the most part, they've done that. They really have. Pretty much the entire team hasn't been through what they're going through right now at this level. So that's the frustration I'm battling. But you can't let it affect your effort and intensity on the basketball court.
Saturday night, the Border Battle rematch. Nebraska is winless on the road this season, looking to snap 2 skids in 1 game. That's your check on Big Red. Covering Nebraska, I'm Jake Jones.
You're the man, Jake. As for some Sunday basketball, how about this? Ohio State getting together with Wisconsin. That's a 1 o'clock Eastern tip. And then Northwestern and Rutgers. An intriguing matchup for sure Sunday evening. And to get the Cats side of things, here's our Dan Roan.
It's been a quiet week for Northwestern. Not a good week, but a quiet one. Just 1 game last Saturday at home against Purdue. Once again, the Cats played it down to the wire, but they just have not been able to close, a problem all season long. 4 times Northwestern's had a lead of 5 points or more with 5 minutes to play and let the game slip away. Against the Boilers on Saturday, the Cats went scoreless for the last 4.5 minutes of the game. Purdue closed on an 11-0 run and won the game 61-58. It took a three-pointer by Sasha Stefanovic with 3 seconds to play to get the Boilers over the top. Northwestern loses for the 6th time in a row. Chris Collins says his young team will learn from all this and figure out how to get it done at the end. But in the meantime, it's been tough to swallow some of these defeats. The Cats get a good, solid week of practice before they head out to Rutgers on Sunday, one of the more hostile road environments in the league. And in the Big Ten, that's saying something. Miller Kopp had 15 and freshman Boo Buie 12 in that loss to Purdue. Covering the Wildcats, I'm Dan Roan.
Now we're joined by Dustin Dopirak of The Athletic. Dustin, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You've been covering Big Ten basketball from the get-go for The Athletic. Some great reading, and what a great conference. Is there a better conference in the United States, higher rated in the league than this one right now?
No, not top to bottom, certainly. It's definitely the most competitive conference. Basically, it's definitely the deepest conference. It's definitely going to have the most teams get in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's probably going to be double digits, somewhere between 10 and 12. There's not necessarily a great team in the league. You keep seeing these teams beat each other up. It doesn't look like you're going to have a team go in as a 1 seed or a 2 seed into the tournament, but you're going to have a bunch somewhere between that 3, 4, 5, and then all the way down to 12 line. There's going to be a bunch of teams in, and they keep just having competitive, thrilling basketball games. It's really hard to win on somebody else's home floor. It's been a really interesting league so far.
How do you explain the lack of road success? Is it because of the depth of the conference and the strength right now?
Yeah, it starts with the depth of the conference. It says that there's no easy team to beat, and then there's no great team, basically. So basically, if you put somebody on someone else's court, it ends up being at least close to even, basically, and that really evens it out a lot. I think also the fact that the three-point shot, the three-point line got moved further out, I think that makes a difference, because I think that's one of the big issues. When you go on the road, it's tougher to shoot. You're getting used to a new environment. You're getting used to kind of the depth perception. It's not as easy. Teams just don't shoot as well from 3 on the road. You're absolutely seeing that in the numbers showing up. Basically, just teams are not shooting as well on the road as they are at home. Makes it tougher to win a game. You got to be able to out-defend people, and teams basically aren't doing that on the road. You're seeing a couple occasions. Big win by Penn State the other night over Michigan State.
Huge.
That was a pretty massive one. Definitely, I think changes the complexion of the conference a lot. But I think that's the thing. It's really even, and teams aren't shooting well, so it ends up being a situation where home teams really have an advantage.
All right, we're a little bit past the midway point of the Big Ten Conference. If you were to name a Big Ten Conference Coach of the Year, who would it be right now?
Man, Pat Chambers, Brad Underwood, Steve Pikiell at Rutgers, man.
Gotta be
Pikiell,
right?
Now that I think about it, why am I even considering anybody else? Rutgers matters. Rutgers basketball is a real thing. No, it's crazy, and they don't lose at home at all. They're tough and rugged. I think that's one of the big things, basically, and that allows them to at least be competitive on the road. They don't always win, but they've got a lot of guys that can really rebound, play defense. Not necessarily a great shooting team, but they've got a lot of guys that can do a lot. Geo Baker, Ron Harper Jr. There is some offensive talent, and there is some size on the front line. And they're really playing tough together, and I think that they came in really believing. I think that says a lot. This team never allowed itself to believe, we're Rutgers, we're not really going to be in this. No, they believe every night, and they absolutely believe they can get you at home.
How about your Big Ten Player of the Year? I know who I would choose if the season were over right now. Who would you pick?
I'd probably still go with Luke Garza.
I would too.
He's just been terrific, just putting up huge numbers, and again made just such a huge impact for that team. And he was solid last year. He was a tough big guy, but he's just had some big time nights where he's played like an All-American. You still have to have Cassius in the discussion, and you have to imagine that you still have to keep in mind Michigan State could still go on a run. And Cassius might run away with the thing. Daniel Oturo, I think, has been terrific
in Minnesota.
Yeah. Basically, he's really, I think, stepped out. He looks like he might be the best pro prospect out of the league. He's up there. He might not be number one, but I think he's certainly up there. So I think those three are really the big ones that you look at. But I think Anthony Cowan, Jalen Smith certainly are a couple guys that you got to talk to, especially if Maryland ends up going on and winning the league. They've been good. Io's been really good. There's been a lot of ones, but I think right now, if I've got to make a vote, I'd probably go with Luke Garza.
Dustin Dopirak of The Athletic, thanks so much for stopping by. You can read his stuff on The Athletic. Really great stuff.
Thank you.
Good stuff, Chris. Now put your jacket back on and get over here. Hey, 6 teams still in the mix for the conference title. Going to be survival of the fittest. And as we always say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that will do it for this edition of Big Time Basketball.
Did you come up with that? Marathon, not a sprint?
I had it in the well for a while.
I like
throw it out there. Yeah.
Gotta pull that out again. For Chris Hagan, I'm Chris Widlick. See you again next Friday at high noon.